Hey guys, Kelade here. With 7.2 right around the corner, I wanted to talk to you guys about Fury Warrior artifact ability pathing in a coming patch, that's happening in the next reset. So once the reset happens, we're all going to be going back down to 35 traits, and then if you have any additional points in your weapon past that, you'll get that AP refunded for you to be able to use in the next set of points. And the biggest cutoff that you want to know is if you are currently at 51 traits into your weapon, you'll be able to go 39 traits once 7.2 launches, right? So if you're at 52, 53, 54, great. You have extra AP that you can use, but 51 is the cutoff you need in order to start off 7.2 with 39 traits, right? So of course, your 35th trait is going to be our Titanic Power. Once you get this trait, you're going to get a quest line that allows you to unlock, the rest of these artifact abilities and also allow you to put a fourth point into all of the current artifact abilities that, had 3 points previously. So the biggest question comes is whether or not, do you put points into your current traits that you're currently familiar with and have been putting points into, or do you go down this new path and get this golden trait called Death and Glory, which essentially increases your Odin's Fury damage by 300% of your attack power. Now, this damage is added on right away initially, and it gets added on to the initial hit. And as far as currently on PTR, it doesn't affect the dot at all. So it's really good for burst because we're putting Odin's Fury at the back end of our Battlecry combo anyways with draft, so it doesn't really matter because the dot damage right now is kind of neglected by us. The other thing I wanted to know is this trait Pulse of Battle. This Raging Blow critical strikes generate an additional 1 rage. So since you hit Raging Blow with both weapons, they can both crit, especially if you're, in the middle of Battle Cry, you're guaranteed to crit with both hands. So it'll actually give you 2 rage. And if you're at the max of 4 points, it'll actually give you 8 rage. So, it's more than what it just seems, right? It's not just going to give you 4 rage. It can give you 8 rage, in addition to the 5 rage that Raging Blow just naturally gives. Right, so of course, the biggest thing after your 35th trait is you're going to take this, right? The Fury of Valadrar, because it gives you a straight 10% buff, right? So this is where your 36th trait is going to be. And instantaneously, you're essentially going to be slightly stronger than you were before. Because in patch 7.15, when you put in 20 points into this Titanic Power, the max that damage increase you got was 14.5%. This gives you 5%. This gives you 10%. So essentially, right off the bat, we're at least 0.5% increase in damage. All right, so the next question becomes whether or not, you go down this path and you pick up this trait, or do you go back and do your previous traits? Currently, the sims right now, the public sims, they don't go up to 7.2 traits. So I've kind of done some napkin math. Essentially, this trait gives me, looking over at my logs and adding in that damage, it would give me a 24.6% increase in Odin's Fury damage. Now that's for my character and how to use Odin's Fury. Of course, if you guys follow my priorities, yours should look pretty similar to this. So it's not huge in increasing damage, right? It's only increasing Odin's Fury by 24.6% damage. So if you guys, of course, if you guys are, progressing on Spellblade and you guys can't kill the ads for some reason, then yeah, you can go ahead and try to rush for this weapon. It is possible to get this trait if you farm really hard in the first week, but for the immediate gains, in my opinion, what the best trait should be for you guys right off the bat is you put on your 37th trait into your Unrivaled Strength and get that, additional 5% during Battle Cry. Right, and then you also want to put your Wrath and Fury, so you get that additional 5% in Raging Blow, and you want to do Raging Berserker, so you get additional 1% during your rage. So those 3 artifact abilities, I would definitely put points into first, right? So your Battle Cry, your Raging Blow, and your Enraged Damage. I heavily recommend going those 3 first. Then once you get those 3 points, put all of your points into this path until you get Death and Glory, right? So that's going to be 4 into Pulse of Battle, that's going to be 1 into Oath of Blood, and that's going to be 1 into Death and Glory. Now at this point, you do need to go back and finish up all of these 3 out of 4 traits before you can start unlocking this new trait that essentially gives you a chance to proc your main stat. Some people are reporting that it's versatility, some people are reporting that it's main stat, but essentially it's just going to be a damage boost that you're going to randomly get during the fight, right? But that's not a big deal. That's like your Paragon trait. So when you come back after you get this Death and Glory trait, you're going to fill out your tree just like you did in 7.15. in that, after since you already had Enraged, Raging Blow, and Battlecry filled out earlier, you're just going to continue down the path. You can go Raging Blow next. After that, you can go either Death Dealer or Wild Slashes. They're both relatively the same, and I think especially with the prevalence of the two-piece currently in tier 19, the Wild Slashes I think definitely performs a little bit better, but it's not a huge deal. Like at this point in the tree, you just want to fill out your points, right? And then you can put it into Uncontrolled Rage if you want, then you can put it into Blood Rage, which of course isn't really a DPS trait, but you do need to put in all of your traits. Right? So once you fill in all of these for 4 out of 4, let's see, is there any I'm missing? Right here, oh, Battle Scars, right? Once you fill in all of those traits, you have 51 traits, that's when you're going to unlock this new Paragon trait. Of course, this Paragon trait will be very slow. You're not supposed to be able to max this out as fast as people were maxing out their weapons earlier. Blizzard did want this to be kind of a perpetual goal that you can always work towards. But yeah, that's essentially it for filling out your artifact traits in 7.2. Of course, please do remember that your mythic hash on day 1 of 7.2 will have AP in it, and you want to make sure you do that quest line that will allow you to have AK-26 before you open your cache. That way you can get as many AP as you want. Of course, another tip that you want to really take advantage of for gaining AP is if it's ever a week where you're going to get knowledge, a second knowledge before the reset, you want to save your like LFR and normal Nighthold runs until then. That way you're able to get more AP for the time spent. Essentially, AP slash time spent is what's important here, and that's what my current artifact pathing allows you to do. So if we go in and reset this really quick, all right, so we're back at 35 traits. We put our 36 trait here in the Fury Valor jar. We put our Unrivaled Strain for Battlecry damage, Raging Blow damage, and Raging Berserker damage. This takes us up to 39 total ranks, which you can immediately get as 7.2 comes out. So immediately the patch hits, you can be this strong, and you can use this to help you, gain AP further down the road. And I think doing this essentially kind of short term will definitely benefit you further since you're going to be powered up immediately for that Tuesday race. So you're not forced to farm that entire week to try to get this golden trait. I do suggest that you guys probably wait off on this trait. There's no huge rush to get it, unless, of course, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, if your guild is working on some kind of boss and you guys are just missing that AoE damage for some reason, then you still want to go for the Battle Cry Relic trait first. But if you wanted to, you can try to rush for Death and Glory after your BC Relic. But I don't recommend you doing that, and I do recommend you going with the immediate power right off the bat. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to subscribe to see more warrior content. See ya!